Hi, good morning. Yeah, Justin Cunningham from Eureka magazine. Thanks a lot for a superb morning of presentations there. I wanted to ask the panel about their thoughts of whether Industry 4.0 will lead to a more decentralised sort of manufacturing landscape. So are we sort of looking at more localised manufacture, whether this will lead to sort of reshoring of more things, because at the moment it seems like globalization is pushing this philosophy of you can have factories anywhere and they can deliver anywhere, but ultimately you're going to get products that are locked up on containers for weeks at a time, which is an inefficiency, and I think that's what we're all trying to sort of drive out here, is improve efficiency and productivity. So, yeah, what's the panel's thoughts on whether they sort of see a more sort of decentralised, localised manufacture kind of philosophy come to the fore?
Great. Mike, would you like to?
Yeah, I think it's better to talk in real examples than theoretically. I talked earlier about the way the Asians are reacting to Industry 4.0, and the battle is on. But if I want an individualized product, if I want a shoe from Nike, I'm really not going to wait 6 weeks for a container to deliver it from China. So the opportunity is there to reshore. If we look at a real example today, we have two companies, Inditex, who own Zara, and we have H&M. Now, Inditex's approach is very fast fashion change in their shops, and they have to produce the clothing very quickly. They have to change sizes and models very fast. But they do something that most people probably aren't aware of. In order to achieve that, is they use planes to move their product, which is very detrimental to the environment. Whereas H&M, a Swedish company, refuses to do that and wants to support environmental benefits as much as possible. Now, H&M are responsible for 2% of the gross national product of Bangladesh. Very poor country, and we can all complain about the working conditions there, but they protect the workers there as much as possible. So, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, if we're going to bring the clothes manufacturing, as this example, back into Europe and manufacture textiles back in Europe again, it may well have a detrimental effect on their economy, on the economy in Bangladesh. It definitely has environmental benefits to bring the manufacturing back into Europe. And I think in the end it will be down to individual businesses to come up with new business models and to develop small and flexible manufacturing facilities. So one of the other things that we have problems with in Europe is actually finding space and getting permission to build a new plant. So again, looking at a real example of Apple, who get these enormous demand surges. A colleague of mine from another company went to China to help them with their manufacturing policy, the company that actually makes the phones. He actually failed really to help to improve the efficiency in the plants. So what they did was they just built another 48 factories in 6 months. Which of our governments are going to give us the land, the transport mechanisms, and everything to allow that to happen? So there's a lot of things playing. A lot of wheels are moving at the same time.
Excellent.
But I'm hopeful. Yes.
Yeah. Anyone else on the panel like to speak to that one? Or
I'll just mention one thing, yeah.
Alan.
So, I mean, as I said before, with Industry 4.0, a key part of it is the customers' demands and expectations from manufacturers, and there's an expectation to manufacture products to individual needs, and the challenge with doing that is you need to be closer to the customer. Hence, Siemens' strategy is to manufacture more and more products outside of Germany. Hence, we have 14 facilities in the UK. that gets you closer to the customer. So as you get closer and closer to manufacturing products to individual needs, you have to be local to that customer to be able to do it. And then you also have to have the supply chain around you to be able to manufacture those parts as well to customer needs. So that ecosystem around customization is becoming more and more important. So localization is a key part of mass customization in Industry 4.
Excellent. Jonathan?
Yeah, just probably worth saying, Unilever didn't really offshore in the sense of we tend to manufacture fairly locally anyway, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to ship a lot of water around the world. I think the one thing that we would observe is a lot of our, if you just take the UK, a lot of our inbound raw materials are imported, so it would be fantastic to see a shorter supply chain there, but I think it's out of our hands to make happen. And I'm really talking about the chemical industry. So if that could regenerate in the UK, I think that would be to the benefit of a lot of manufacturers like us in terms of shortening supply chains.
Excellent. Does that answer your question? Thanks very much. Another question, please. Don't be shy. Yes, just over here.
Hi, it's Debbie Nicholson from BASF. It's a question to Peter predominantly, but the whole panel. Do you see a link between the demographics challenge and availability of the future workforce in Europe and Industry 4.0, and in what would you see that to be?
Did you the
demographic challenge, so aging workforce, that sort of
yeah,
thing?
well, of course, when I was referring to our agreement on active aging, that was in the interest of both the workers, the trade unions, and Business Europe or the Employers Association to negotiate such an agreement, because the demographic change, it is more than obvious that companies suffer under what we did in the past and now have to pay all this. Yeah, so we have to ask for a new concept, or for a new. When I said we have to rethink work that is related to the work at the end of our career as well, because the age, of course, is we increase our age, and then the active part in the working life that will be longer as well, and that is first of all, it's a big challenge to finance that. Secondly, when we do not have enough jobs, we compete among workers, and that is a reason why we said we have to find intelligent solutions that older workers can maybe reduce working time and handing over knowledge, and get younger workers into the job, gradually withdrawing from the labor market the older ones and open more chances for the younger ones. And I think it's high time to act on that. So the demographic change, the demographic challenge is obviously there, and we should act on that. Did it answer your question?
Yep, I think so. Okay, last question. Time for one more. Anyone? Peter, if I can just ask you a question. I heard last week that Denmark are talking about moving to a 6-hour working day, and the reasons they gave were not to do with automation or digitization. It was to do with the fact that they believe that most people are only productive for 6 hours in a day, and that the last hour and a half would be better spent giving people a better work-life balance. But it got me thinking, you know, when we had computerization a couple of decades ago, we all thought we'd be spending more time on the golf course. Can you see, sort of serious point dressed up in a jokey point, can you see us having a more balanced work-life situation as a result of digitization and automation?
I think we all when you look at the figures or the surveys we have about workers who work only so-called half day, 4 hours, yeah, and the efficiency in this 4 hours, and when you compare it with somebody who works 8 hours, it is clear, there's evidence that the productivity is higher in that 4 hours, yeah. So because the human being is like it is, yeah. After a certain period of time, we are not concentrated enough anymore. We lose concentration and so on. So I think it makes sense, but to think about it. But the point is, shouldn't we think about the definition of work? What is work and what is occupation and what is professional employment? And there I think we should really, and by the way, digitalization will lead, we cannot escape it, will lead to this discussion we have, and I'm quite happy that we have this discussion. And then we shorten the official working time, but for example, what women, or what we take for granted, that, and the majority, they take care of education of the children and so on. Shouldn't we define that not as work? So I think we should have a really a fundamental debate about it, and such a discussion in Denmark is very, very useful to that.
Excellent. Well, we've come to the end of this particular session, so there's now a half-hour break. I think there's some coffee, but also do take the opportunity to go around the exhibition. There's some of our sponsors out there, and they'd be very glad to see you. So if I could ask that you get back to here ready to start at 11:30, that would be great. But before you go, could you please just thank the speakers again for 4 excellent presentations.